There is a silent battle that millions of people fight every single day. It is not against poverty, failure, or even fear. It is the battle of holding on to people who have already let go. The hardest chains are not made of iron. They are made of memories, expectations, and unanswered questions. You replay old conversations, revisit familiar places, and search for hidden meanings in moments that have already passed. You wonder why someone who once made you feel important can now pass by as though you never existed. You wait for a message that never comes, an apology that never arrives, and a return that was never promised. But life has a difficult lesson that every strong person must eventually learn. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain in it. Some people are only passing through your story. They arrive carrying lessons, not lifelong commitments. The pain begins when you refuse to recognize that their chapter has already ended while you continue reading the same page again and again. Think about how much of your life can disappear while you are waiting for someone who has already moved on. Days become weeks. Weeks become years. You continue checking your phone, revisiting old photographs, imagining conversations that will never happen, and hoping circumstances will somehow reverse themselves. All the while, your own life quietly stands still. The future keeps knocking, but your hands remain occupied holding on to the past. There is something deeply exhausting about trying to remain important in the mind of someone who has already forgotten you. Every attempt steals a little more of your confidence. Every unanswered effort quietly convinces you that you must somehow become more deserving of love, attention, or respect. Yet your value has never depended on another person's memory. The stars continue shining even when clouds hide them. Their light is not diminished simply because someone cannot see it. Many people confuse attachment with love. They believe that refusing to let go proves the depth of their feelings. In truth, endless attachment often comes from fear rather than love. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of accepting that someone else has chosen a different path. Love wishes happiness, even when people grow apart. Attachment demands control over what was never ours to control. Every person has the freedom to choose where their attention belongs, just as you cannot force a bird to remain on a branch after it has spread its wings. You cannot force another heart to remain where it no longer wishes to stay. Chasing someone who has chosen distance only increases the distance within yourself. You lose pieces of your identity every time you sacrifice your dignity for temporary attention. There comes a moment when wisdom quietly whispers something your emotions have resisted for years. Stop knocking on doors that have already been closed. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop proving your worth to those determined not to recognize it. Some battles cannot be won because they were never yours to fight. The strongest people are not those who never experience rejection. They are those who refuse to let rejection define them. They understand that another person's inability to appreciate their presence says far more about that person's perspective than about their own value. Instead of chasing acceptance, they invest in becoming someone they can respect each morning when they look into the mirror. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone represents an old disappointment, a broken promise, an unanswered message, or someone who walked away without explanation. At first you barely notice the weight, then every step becomes slower. Every hill becomes harder to climb. Eventually you begin believing that life itself is heavy, when in reality it is the burden you refuse to set down. The moment you remove the backpack, the road does not become shorter, but your strength immediately returns. You do not heal by making someone regret losing you. You heal by becoming someone who no longer measures their happiness through another person's choices. Growth begins the moment your attention shifts away from those who left and toward the person you are becoming. Every book you read, every healthy habit you build, every challenge you overcome, and every peaceful morning you create becomes evidence that your future deserves more attention than your past. There will always be people who forget your kindness. Some will overlook your sacrifices. Others will remember you only when they need something from you. If you spend your life trying to change their memories, you will never create new ones of your own. Your purpose is not to remain unforgettable in someone else's story. Your purpose is to become fully present in your own. Silence often accomplishes what endless explanations never can. Walking away with dignity speaks louder than arguments fueled by desperation. Peace is found not in convincing people to stay, but in accepting that those who truly belong in your life will never require you to abandon yourself in order to keep them close. One day, you will realize that the people who forgot you also gave you an unexpected gift. They revealed where your energy no longer belonged. They forced you to discover strength that comfort never could. They taught you that self-respect grows every time you stop chasing what refuses to choose you. They reminded you that your life was never meant to revolve around another person's attention. Forget who forgets you, not because they deserve to be erased, but because your future deserves to be remembered. Let your energy nourish your dreams instead of your disappointments. Let your heart become lighter by releasing what it was never meant to carry forever. Let your mind become quieter by accepting what it can never control. Walk forward without bitterness, without revenge, and without the need to be understood, because the greatest victory is not making someone remember your name, but becoming so deeply connected to your own purpose that you no longer pause to wonder who has forgotten it. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that not everyone who enters their journey is meant to stay. Some people arrive to teach a lesson, some remain for a season, and some quietly disappear without explanation. The pain rarely comes from their absence alone. It comes from our refusal to accept that reality has already changed. We continue holding conversations in our minds, replaying memories, searching for reasons, and hoping that somehow the past will return. Yet reality does not negotiate with hope. It only asks to be seen as it is. The human mind naturally resists loss. It wants certainty, answers, and closure. When someone forgets us, ignores us, or chooses another path, we often create endless stories to avoid accepting the truth. We convince ourselves that if we wait a little longer, send one more message, or become someone different, everything will return to the way it once was. But acceptance begins when we stop arguing with what has already happened. It is the quiet recognition that life has moved forward, even if our emotions have not. Acceptance is not weakness. It is one of the greatest forms of strength, because it requires us to let go of illusions instead of feeding them. It asks us to release the exhausting habit of trying to control people, their feelings, and their choices. Every person has the freedom to stay or leave, to remember or forget, to love or walk away. Just as you cannot command the wind to change its direction, you cannot force another heart to remain where it no longer wishes to be. Many people mistake acceptance for surrender, but they are not the same. Surrender says, I have no power. Acceptance says, I know where my power truly belongs. Your power has never existed in changing someone else's mind. It has always existed in choosing your own response. The moment you stop fighting reality, your energy returns to you. The endless questions begin to fade. The sleepless nights become quieter, and your thoughts slowly stop revolving around someone who has already chosen a different path. Imagine carrying a heavy stone every single day. At first, it feels manageable, but over time your shoulders ache, your back bends, and every step becomes harder. The stone represents resistance. The moment you place it on the ground, nothing outside of you has changed. The road is the same, the destination is the same, but your burden is gone. Acceptance is placing that stone down. It is not changing the past. It is refusing to carry it any longer. There is deep peace in acknowledging that not every ending requires an explanation. Some chapters close without warning. Some relationships fade without apology. Some people simply stop choosing you. This may hurt, but pain becomes suffering only when we refuse to accept what is already true. Acceptance allows grief to move instead of remaining trapped. It creates space where healing can quietly begin, not because everything feels fair, but because reality has finally been welcomed instead of resisted. The person who accepts life as it unfolds becomes lighter with every passing day. They stop wasting their strength chasing those who have already turned away. They stop measuring their worth through another person's attention. They stop asking why they were forgotten and begin asking how they can become more present in their own life. Instead of standing at a closed door hoping someone will open it, they notice the countless paths that have been waiting for them all along. From an early age, many people are taught to seek approval. They learn to smile so others will like them, to remain silent so they will not offend anyone, and to change pieces of themselves in exchange for acceptance. Over time, this habit becomes so deeply rooted that they no longer recognize it. They begin measuring their value through compliments, attention, messages, invitations, and praise. Every positive reaction feels like proof that they matter, while every rejection feels like evidence that they are somehow incomplete. Yet a life built on approval is always unstable because it places your peace in the hands of people whose opinions constantly change. Self-respect begins the moment you stop asking the world to confirm what you should already know about yourself. It is the quiet understanding that your dignity is not a reward given by others, but a responsibility you give to yourself. When you truly respect yourself, you no longer need everyone to agree with you, admire you, or choose you. You understand that another person's inability to see your worth does not reduce the value you already possess. There is a dangerous habit many people develop after experiencing rejection. They work harder to become more acceptable. They become more available, more accommodating, more forgiving, and more willing to sacrifice their own needs. They believe that if they become enough for someone else, they will finally receive the love and recognition they have been chasing. In reality, every compromise made against your own values slowly weakens the foundation of your character. The more desperately you seek approval, the more easily you abandon yourself. Self-respect often requires saying no when others expect yes. It means walking away from conversations that diminish your dignity. It means refusing to beg for attention that should be freely offered. It means recognizing that your time, your energy, and your emotions are valuable resources, not gifts to be handed to anyone who asks. A person who respects themselves understands that kindness should never require self-abandonment. Approval is temporary because it depends on circumstances you cannot control. People admire you when you succeed and criticize you when you fail. They praise your confidence until it challenges their comfort. They celebrate your kindness until it no longer benefits them. If your identity depends on their approval, your confidence will rise and fall with every opinion you hear. This creates a life of constant emotional instability, where your happiness is determined by voices that are often inconsistent and unreliable. Self-respect creates a different kind of strength. It allows you to remain calm when misunderstood. It gives you the courage to accept that not everyone will appreciate your presence, and that is perfectly natural. You stop trying to convince people of your value because you realize that genuine respect cannot be forced. It is discovered naturally by those who are capable of recognizing it. There will always be people who overlook your efforts, question your intentions, or fail to recognize your loyalty. Their opinions may disappoint you, but they should never define you. Every time you choose your principles over popularity, your honesty over pretending, and your dignity over desperate approval, you strengthen something far more valuable than your public image. You strengthen your character. A person with strong character can lose admiration without losing themselves, can face rejection without becoming bitter, and can stand alone without feeling abandoned because their confidence no longer depends on being constantly accepted by others. One of the greatest misunderstandings about letting go is the belief that it must be accompanied by anger. Many people think that to move on, they need to hate the person who disappointed them, expose those who hurt them, or carry resentment as proof that they have been wronged. They convince themselves that bitterness is a form of strength because it reminds them never to trust again. In reality, bitterness is not a shield, it is a chain. It binds your thoughts to someone who may have already forgotten you, allowing their actions to continue shaping your emotional world long after they have left. Detachment is something entirely different. It is the quiet decision to release your emotional dependence without creating an enemy in your mind. It does not require revenge, harsh words, or endless explanations. It simply acknowledges that every person has their own path, their own choices, and their own limitations. Some people cannot give you the loyalty you offered them. Some cannot return the love you freely gave. Others leave because their journey no longer aligns with yours. Accepting this truth allows you to loosen your grip without filling your heart with poison. Bitterness has a subtle way of disguising itself as justice. It whispers that you deserve to remain angry until the other person understands your pain. It encourages you to replay old conversations, imagine future confrontations, and wait for the day they finally regret losing you. Yet while your mind remains occupied with these imagined victories, your life quietly stands still. The person who hurt you may continue living without ever looking back, while you continue carrying a burden they no longer feel. True detachment begins when you realize that your healing does not depend on another person's apology. Some people will never admit they were wrong. Some will never explain why they changed. Others may not even recognize the impact of their actions. Waiting for closure from someone unwilling or unable to provide it gives them control over your peace. Freedom comes when you decide that your recovery belongs to you alone. There is remarkable strength in leaving without resentment. It does not mean pretending the pain never existed. It means refusing to let pain shape the person you become. You can remember what happened without allowing it to define every future relationship. You can learn valuable lessons without assuming everyone intends to hurt you. You can protect your heart without building walls so high that no genuine connection can ever reach you. Nature offers countless examples of peaceful detachment. Trees release their leaves every season without anger. Rivers continue flowing around obstacles instead of fighting them. The sun sets every evening without resisting the arrival of darkness. Nothing in nature clings to what no longer belongs. It simply allows change to happen and continues fulfilling its purpose. Human beings often suffer because they try to hold tightly to experiences that life has already asked them to release. Choosing detachment without bitterness preserves your inner character. It keeps your heart open instead of hardened. It allows compassion to remain without becoming weakness and wisdom to grow without becoming suspicion. You no longer spend your energy wishing for someone else's downfall, because your attention has returned to building your own future. Every step forward becomes lighter because you are no longer carrying resentment alongside your memories. You stop seeking justice through revenge and begin finding peace through understanding, recognizing that every person acts according to the level of awareness they possess, and that your greatest victory is refusing to let another person's choices transform you into someone consumed by anger or resentment. Inner peace is one of the most valuable treasures a person can possess, yet it is often treated as though it has little value. People willingly sacrifice it for arguments that never change anything, for relationships that continuously drain them, and for the opinions of strangers who will soon forget them. They guard their money with great care, lock their homes before leaving, and protect their belongings from being stolen, yet they leave the doors of their minds completely open, allowing every criticism, disappointment, and unnecessary conflict to enter without resistance. Over time, this constant invasion leaves the heart restless and the mind exhausted. Peace is not something you discover by accident. It is something you protect through conscious choices. Every day presents countless opportunities to either preserve your calm or surrender it. A single conversation can disturb your entire day if you allow it. One careless remark can echo in your thoughts for hours. One person's negativity can quietly become your own if you continue carrying it long after the conversation has ended. The greatest danger is not what others say or do. It is how long you allow those moments to occupy your mind. Many people believe they must respond to every insult, defend themselves against every misunderstanding, or correct every false opinion. They feel responsible for controlling how others perceive them. This endless need to explain and justify oneself creates constant inner tension. The truth is that not every misunderstanding deserves clarification. Not every accusation deserves a response. Sometimes silence protects your peace far better than the perfect argument ever could. Your attention is like a lamp. Wherever you direct it, energy follows. If your thoughts remain fixed on people who disappoint you, your emotional strength slowly flows toward them. If your mind repeatedly returns to old conflicts, those conflicts continue living inside you long after they have ended. Protecting your inner peace requires learning where not to place your attention. Some battles are won not by fighting harder, but by refusing to participate at all. There will always be individuals who seek to provoke, criticize, compare, or compete. Their words often reveal more about their own struggles than about your character. If every opinion has the power to disturb your emotions, you become a prisoner of other people's moods. A calm mind recognizes that another person's anger does not require your anger, just as another person's confusion does not require your confusion. You are not obligated to carry emotional burdens that were never yours to begin with. Protecting your peace also means setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls built from hatred. They are quiet expressions of self-respect. They define what you will accept and what you will no longer tolerate. Some people mistake boundaries for selfishness because they have grown accustomed to unlimited access to your time and energy. Yet every healthy relationship honors limits instead of demanding constant sacrifice. The people who truly value you will respect the space you create to preserve your well-being. A peaceful mind is not one that has never experienced pain. It is a mind that has learned not to remain trapped inside it. Difficult moments will come, Disappointments will appear, and unexpected losses will test your strength. These experiences are part of being human. What determines your peace is not the absence of hardship, but your ability to let each experience pass without allowing it to become your permanent identity. Every moment you refuse to feed unnecessary worry, every argument you choose not to continue, every resentment you decide not to carry, and every distraction you release becomes another quiet act of protecting the most valuable place you will ever possess, the stillness within your own mind. Every person is given the same 24 hours each day, yet the difference between those who remain trapped in regret and those who transform their lives often comes down to one question: where is their energy being invested? Many people spend years investing their attention in those who ignore them, trying to repair relationships that no longer exist, seeking validation from people who have already moved on, and replaying memories that cannot be changed. They pour endless effort into things beyond their control while neglecting the one investment that will always remain with them, themselves. Imagine placing water into a cracked container. No matter how much you pour, it never becomes full because everything slowly leaks away. This is what happens when you invest all your emotional energy into people who no longer appreciate your presence. You keep giving, hoping that one more effort will finally make the difference, yet you are left feeling emptier than before. The problem is not the amount you have to give, the problem is where you continue pouring it. Investing in yourself does not mean becoming selfish or turning away from others. It means recognizing that you cannot offer genuine strength, wisdom, or kindness if you are emotionally exhausted. A tree must first grow deep roots before it can provide shade to anyone else. In the same way, your own growth becomes the foundation from which everything else in your life develops. When your mind becomes stronger, your relationships improve. When your character becomes steadier, your decisions become wiser. When your inner life becomes richer, you stop depending on the outside world to constantly fill the emptiness within. Many people delay their own development while waiting for someone else's return. They postpone learning new skills, neglect their health, abandon their dreams, and stop pursuing meaningful goals because their attention remains fixed on what they have lost. Days become months, and months become years, all while life quietly continues moving forward. Time never pauses to wait for healing. It continues flowing whether you choose to grow or remain attached to yesterday. The most valuable investments rarely produce immediate results. Reading one book will not instantly change your life. Exercising for one day will not transform your body. Practicing discipline for 1 week will not completely reshape your character. Yet every small action accumulates. Every page you read expands your understanding. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your resilience. Every promise you keep to yourself builds confidence that cannot be taken away by another person's opinion. There is remarkable freedom in becoming someone who enjoys their own company. When you invest in your knowledge, your health, your skills, and your character, solitude no longer feels like punishment. It becomes an opportunity. Instead of fearing empty moments, you begin using them to create a better future. You realize that being alone is very different from being lonely. Loneliness seeks distraction, while purposeful solitude creates transformation. People often admire confidence without understanding where it comes from. True confidence is not built through compliments or constant success. It grows through the quiet evidence you collect every day by honoring your commitments to yourself. Each difficult habit you develop, each obstacle you overcome, and each moment you choose growth over comfort becomes proof that you can rely on your own strength. That kind of confidence cannot be given by another person, nor can it be taken away by rejection. The greatest return on any investment is found within the person you become. Wealth may disappear, relationships may change, and opportunities may come and go. But the wisdom you cultivate, the discipline you practice, the resilience you develop, and the peace you build remain with you wherever life leads. Every hour spent improving your mind, strengthening your body, refining your character, and pursuing meaningful purpose quietly transforms your future into something no disappointment from the past can ever diminish. Many people spend their lives hoping to leave a lasting impression on others. They want to be remembered, appreciated, and missed. They wonder whether someone still thinks about them, whether their absence has been noticed, or whether the people who walked away will one day regret their decision. These thoughts quietly become a prison because they place your happiness in a future that may never arrive. The more you seek to remain in someone else's memory, the more you drift away from fully living your own life. There is a quiet irony in human nature. The people who desperately try to be remembered often lose themselves in the process. They shape their personalities to please others, speak only the words they believe people want to hear, and make endless sacrifices hoping to become unforgettable. Yet what truly leaves a lasting mark is never desperation. It is authenticity. People remember those who lived with integrity, not those who constantly searched for attention. When your actions are motivated by the desire to be noticed, every decision becomes influenced by someone else's opinion. You begin measuring your worth by the reactions you receive instead of the values you uphold. Praise becomes addictive, silence feels like rejection, and every forgotten message appears as proof that you no longer matter. This way of living creates endless anxiety because public attention is temporary. Today's admiration can become tomorrow's indifference without warning. Freedom begins when you release the need to occupy another person's thoughts. You stop asking whether someone remembers your birthday, rereads your old conversations, or misses your presence. Instead, your attention returns to the only life you truly have the power to shape, your own. Every moment spent wondering what someone else is thinking is a moment taken away from building the future that belongs to you. The most remarkable people rarely spend their lives trying to become remarkable. They become deeply committed to meaningful work, disciplined habits, honest character, and purposeful living. Their focus is directed toward growth rather than recognition. Ironically, it is this absence of self-promotion that often makes their presence unforgettable. They leave an impact not because they chased admiration, but because they consistently lived according to principles greater than their own image. Think of a mountain standing quietly beneath the changing sky. It does not announce its strength or demand that travelers admire its beauty. It simply remains steady through storms, seasons, and passing generations. Those who encounter it remember it naturally because of what it is, not because it asked to be remembered. Human character works in much the same way. Quiet consistency leaves a deeper impression than constant attempts to attract attention. There will always be people who forget your kindness, overlook your efforts, or fail to appreciate your loyalty. This should never become a reason to question your values. A flower does not stop blooming because someone chooses not to notice it. The sun does not refuse to rise because clouds temporarily hide its light. Your purpose is not to control who remembers you. Your purpose is to continue becoming the kind of person whose actions remain worthy regardless of who is watching. When you no longer crave recognition, your relationships become more genuine because they are no longer built upon expectation. Your work becomes more meaningful because it is guided by excellence rather than applause. Your peace becomes more stable because it no longer depends on being constantly acknowledged. You stop living as though your value must be confirmed by distant memories and begin living according to timeless principles that shape your character every single day, allowing your presence Leave a quiet influence wherever you go without ever needing to ask whether anyone will remember your name.